Hey YouTube, it's Mark.
And Rocky.
And we are
This Cruise Life.
We are on the beautiful Norwegian Prima where we've just spent the last week, and we are going to go deck by deck to take you across this beautiful ship.
That's right. We are currently coming to you from the Penrose Atrium, and just take a look at this space. It is going to take your breath away when you walk onto the ship, and that sets the stage for the rest of your sailing experience.
Hey, so let's go. We just spent a week on board Norwegian Prima, and we have explored this ship from top to bottom. So let's jump into the deck plans.
But first, you're here for a reason because you like what we do. So make sure that you hit that subscribe button. A very small percentage of our viewers are subscribed, and we'd love for you to join us on this adventure. It doesn't cost you anything. All right, let's take a look at deck 20 at the very front of the ship, and that is where we have the entrance to the Wave Water Slide.
Now, I love this thing so much that everyone else was done. I just kept going again and again. Now, it's on deck 20, but technically it's only up like 4 or 5 steps on deck 20, so that's all that's up there.
Right.
As we head aft on deck 20, there's a much bigger space.
There is. So that is part of the Prima Speedway viewing area. This is the best place to be able to watch your friends go head-to-head on the racetrack on board the Prima. It is such a cool spot.
Plus,
and
you can also stand where you win your trophy. Okay, that's deck 20, so let's jump on down to deck 19.
And at the very front of the ship, we just have a nice sun deck, a place to lay out and catch some rays on your cruise.
Plenty of space up there, too.
There was.
As you head aft, Prima Speedway is there again. This is actually the deck where you load into your cars. We did this, and it was a blast. Again, that's it for deck 19. Let's jump on down to 18. At the front of deck 18 is more sun deck. We love how much public space there is to lay out on this ship. Now, keep in mind, the sun deck is on port side, and on starboard side is the kids' aqua water park. So you might want to pick your sun space accordingly.
Now, as we move towards the aft of the ship on the same deck,
Get those engines started. We are about to take off on the Prima Speedway. You can sign up right on deck 18. It spans 3 decks. It is the largest go-kart track at sea. And while you're up here, you can check out all the other fun activities.
this was a really cool spot if you wanted to practice your darts and play a couple of darts games. This also is where Tea Time is located, which is an interactive mini golf course. Super fun. We got to play in that mini golf course a nice round.
It was so much fun. Highly recommend.
Yes. Now, if you head over to the starboard side of the ship, that's where you're going to find the stadium. Now, the stadium is a bunch of really fun games. They're more outdoor style games. So you've got ping pong, you've got beer pong. You must be 21 or older to participate. They also had a couple of different soccer games and racquetball and so much more to do in that area.
If you're not in the mood for paying for mini golf or paying for darts or paying for the speedway, well, good news. You've got 2 dry slide options on the ship. On port side, you've got the drop. They load you into that canister and they do a countdown and you whoosh away. Look at that video. It is wild. Yeah. And then on the starboard side, you've got the rush. It's another drop slide, but you enter it a lot more gracefully, and it's less scary going down that one.
And the rush was fun because it was a racing slide, so we were able to go head-to-head, which is kind of cool.
It was Rocky 1.
I did.
And then at the very aft of the ship.
Yes, they list the Prima Speedway bar.
It's not actually there. It's the Entourage Teen Club. So if you go in there asking for liquor, it's a really awkward moment. And so don't do that, but it does look cool. Look at all the stuff that's here in the Entourage Teen Club.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's it. That's deck 18. Let's go down to 17. We're at one of my favorite spaces to get away from the crowds on board this beautiful ship, and that is the observation lounge here on deck 17 forward. Let's go in and take a look at this beautiful space where you can relax the day away, enjoy some snacks, and there's even a full bar in here.
Now, the observation lounge surrounds the Galaxy Pavilion. Galaxy Pavilion is where you're going to find your VR games. You're going to find your escape rooms. There's motion simulator dark rides. Yeah. And there's also the arcade. Now, in order to participate, everything does cost some money, but they do sell a week-long pass for your cruise, which is also nice to know.
That's true. When you come out of this space on the starboard side of the ship, you actually have the exit for that water slide that we talked about.
Water slide.
And so look, here I am getting out of the... We loved that. And there's also fresh towels there. And so if you're swimming in the pool, which we'll talk about in a minute,
Yep.
or getting out of that water slide in Chile, you've got an entire towel stand there.
Yes. Now, speaking of, on both sides of the ship, right here in the middle section, is where we're going to find the infinity hot tubs. They are beautiful hot tubs that are perched on the sides of the ship on deck 17. Really cool spaces.
Highly recommend checking them out. Even we're not hot tubbers, and we love these spaces.
Yeah, we did. We did. And right in the middle is where you'll find the main pool for the ship. At the forward of that pool is where you're going to find the stage. So your sail away party is going to be hosted from that stage.
Weather permitting.
Weather permitting, of course. But the pool is a little on the small side.
Immediately behind the pool, as you head aft, is the Waves pool bar. We did enjoy some mudslides here. So that's the pool service area, and there are runners that will serve the chairs, because there are chairs that flank that entire pool where you can lay out.
Right. Now, as we head into the port side of the ship from the Waves pool bar, that's where you're going to find the outdoor dining space for the Surfside Cafe. This is the onboard buffet. Now, it is a little bit smaller of a buffet when we head inside. They still had a great selection of food available across our sailing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and there was also plenty of seating. We were very impressed with that.
Well, with the exception of Embark, Sail Away,
that's always a mess.
It's always a tough spot.
And then at the very aft of this space is where we're going to find the Surfside Grill. This is where they make hamburgers and hot dogs. You can build your own, so you grab all of your toppings and make it as delicious as you'd like.
Yes, so if you're not hungry for the buffet, head on over to the starboard side of the ship, where you're going to find Palomar.
That's right.
Palomar is the upscale Mediterranean concept that Norwegian Cruise Line has introduced. It is one of the specialty restaurants. There's outdoor seating as well as indoor seating. We enjoyed a meal here. Look how beautiful this space is.
It is beautiful.
There's a bar inside of Palomar. Now, Palomar is also used, remember, it's used for overflow seating of the buffet. Right. So if the buffet has run out of seating, you can actually sit in this space. And then further aft of Palomar is my favorite specialty dining restaurant on a Norwegian Cruise Line ship, and that is Food Republic. Let's go in and check out this specialty dining restaurant. This is where you're going to find your chicken skewers, your sushi rolls, remember that noodle salad that I loved so much for dinner? I mean, it is such a great restaurant. I highly recommend it. And I highly recommend, if you have more at sea, checking out some of the sakis in this location.
Oh, there you go. That's a great idea. All right, so let's move aft from there, and that's where we're going to find Vibe Beach Club. To get in here, you're going to need to buy a pass that will get you in for the week. Now, there are some loungers back there. There is a bar, and there's 2 infinity hot tubs to be able to enjoy.
I mean, just look at this space, though. It is chill and relax. I love it.
Never saw it busy.
And then at the very aft of the ship on this deck, you've got a beautiful space, and that is the Haven. Now, this is the Haven laying out area. You've got a couple of hot tubs out there. It is we weren't in a Haven, so that's why you see this picture.
Well, that's it for deck 17. Let's head on down to 16 and see what we got.
Sounds like fun.
At the very front of this deck is where we find Pulse Fitness Center. There's a lot of really great equipment in this space, and it's beautiful. Tons of new equipment. You're going to have a great time.
As you leave the Pulse Fitness Center, you enter the top floor of the Mandara Spa and Salon Fitness Center. You are not going to want to miss this space. It is the largest and prettiest spa at sea. Check this out.
Now, as you come out of the Mandara Spa there on deck 16, you're going to find a bunch of cabins lining the middle of the ship. As we make our way to the aft, that's where you're going to enter the Haven, but only if you've paid for the Haven. The Haven space is going to include your restaurant. You're going to have a bar and lounge. The concierge desk is right inside there. And you're also going to go outside and find an outdoor bar, an outdoor seating area for the restaurant, as well as some lovely deck space.
But not only do the Haven folks have that,
yes,
they've got their own sauna and ice room up there on deck. They don't even need to go to the front to go to the spa. They've got their own amenities. And probably the prettiest spot on the ship, that infinity pool that literally looks over the entire aft of the ship. I mean, we've got some pictures from port. You lucky the Haven users, you. It absolutely looks beautiful.
It does.
That's it on 16. Let's head on down to 15. The forward of 15 is that beautiful spa that I mentioned, but it's all of the amenities. They have 3 different saunas on this ship, y'all. They've got a Finnish sauna, they've got a charcoal sauna, they've got an infrared sauna, they've got an ice room. Look at all of these amenities up there. There are locker rooms on this deck. It's just absolutely beautiful. The pool is there, a relaxation area with beverages. I mean, absolutely. When I say I love this space, it was absolutely gorgeous. And the spa has probably my favorite feature of any spa, and it is those heated stone chairs. Look at how many of these there are on this ship. It's awesome.
Moving aft from Mandara Spa here on deck 15, we find Splash Academy. This is the kids' play areas. You can drop them off so that you can have your own adult adventure throughout the day on your cruise.
I like the sound of that. Drop the kids off at the play area and
then
go to the
into
spa.
the spa. And then as you move aft from there, you've got a lot of staterooms, both interiors as well as ocean view. And at the very aft of this deck is where we find our first grouping of the Haven cabins. You have your suites as well as your balconies.
Awesome. Let's head on down to 14. Hey, deck 14 is really quick. That is where at the front of the ship we find the bridge. Thank you, Captain, and all of the officers for getting us to and from safe and sound. Aft of the bridge, you have an entire deck of staterooms. Standard staterooms throughout, and then at the very aft are the Haven staterooms. That's it. That's deck 14.
That's 14.
Let's head on down, and Rocky's going to cover 13.
An unusual deck for a cruise ship to have. On the very forward of this ship, we actually have balconies. Amazing. We love those forward balconies. You get the perfect view of the ocean and what's ahead. As we move inside, we find staterooms as well as our first deck of solo cabins.
Yes.
These are some gorgeous spaces, very unique designs, very different than the rest of the cabins on the ship. Make sure that if you didn't catch it, go check out our little short that we recorded about the studio. And then as we move aft from that space, we find more staterooms, interiors, ocean view, balconies. And then in the very aft is where the Haven is located with their suites and balconies.
Yep. Deck 12 is mostly a mirror image of Deck 13 with 2 exceptions. One, you introduce the studio lounge. In addition to having more studio cabins, you have the studio lounge. Look at this space. There is self-service beer, self-service beverages, sodas, canapes throughout the day, tons of space to lounge, read a book, sit and hang out with friends. Love this space. Additionally, the other difference is it's where the medical center is. Yes, the medical center on Norwegian Prima is up on deck 12. And the weird thing is it's just kind of tucked in around staterooms. It's such a weird placement, I think. But hey, cool. And then more staterooms and, of course, more Haven staterooms. That's it for deck 12.
That is it. Let's move on down to deck 11, 10, as well as 9. All 3 of these levels have staterooms galore from inside cabins to ocean view and beyond.
Couple suites.
With a couple of Haven suites mixed in there as well. That's it until we get down to deck 8, which is next.
At the forward of deck 8, we have the top level of the Prima Theater and Prima Club. This is a really cool space because it looks down over the theater or nightclub. Love it. We'll talk more about the Prima Theater and Club when we get down to the first floor.
Yeah.
As we exit the theater on the port side of the ship, you run into the whiskey bar. Now, this is a very rich venue. It is very lovely. It's got a thick menu of whiskey drinks. Rocky loved this place. I'm not sure why I'm covering it on the tour even. After the whiskey bar, you have
Onda by Scarpetta, the Italian restaurant on board this ship, and take a look at the rich design choices that were made in this space. Onda by Scarpetta, beautiful.
Continuing aft on deck 8, we've got Mexican restaurant Los Lobos. Now, this is one of your specialty dining restaurants on board the Norwegian Prima. Let's check it out. Man, I love this space. It's dark, it's intimate, and it's got all of the guacamole you would want to eat on board your Norwegian Prima cruise. Yum. Oh, and maybe a couple of margaritas.
Now, as we exit the theater on the starboard side of the ship, that's where you're going to find Pandora jewelry and lifestyles. Just a bunch of really nice jewelry items that you can pair up with your outfits for your cruise. Moving aft from there, we find the Perspectives Studio. This is where you're going to schedule your appointments to get those professional photographs taken while you're on your cruise. And then as we move into this space on the starboard side, that's where we're going to find The Zone and iStyle. We love the names of some of these venues on board, but this is where you're going to find some of your cool shades, your sunglasses, designer styles, as well as regular ones. And then there's some jewelry options there before we head into Tech at Sea. Tech at Sea is where you're going to outfit your GoPro with cool equipment and other items that you might enjoy and need for your cruise to make it more fun and tech savvy. Moving aft from that space, we enter the photo gallery. This is where you're going to find all of your photos that have been taken across your cruise. You'll be able to get them printed or digitized, and just have a nice keepsake to take home with you.
You know what? You might even end up with one on the wall behind you. Who knows?
Who knows?
Okay, as we exit that space, so we've covered pretty much the entire front of the ship. Now you come to the local, one of our favorite spots on a Norwegian Cruise Line ship. What's interesting about the Prima is they've split up the local between the dining side and the bar side. Now, you can eat on the bar side, but it's more quick service, it's more casual, whereas the restaurant is sit down, they take your order, it's lovely. There's that giant TV screen
on the bar side,
where you can watch the games, the big game and all that stuff. It's really interesting how they've done these two spaces together.
Yes.
Really beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. Now, as we move aft from there, we enter one of our favorite places, and that is
Indulge Food Hall here on board Norwegian Prima. Let's go take a look.
This is a great place if you're looking for a quick bite to eat or a sit-down meal. You can go to any of the counters or the tables that you find in that space, and they have tablets where you can order any of the food that you want from any of those restaurants. They have Indian food at Tamara. They have salads and soups at the Garden.
Don't forget, Q Smokehouse is included
It is.
on Norwegian Prima. That is an upcharge specialty restaurant on their other ships. And so that is also in this included space, which I love. That barbecue beef brisket sandwich, go to Indulge Food Hall. Trust me on that. Look, I mean, just look at this space. So what else is at Indulge Food Hall?
This is where we find the first of 2 Starbucks locations on board.
You also have a self-serve dessert station. So even if you're not dining at Indulge, you can still go and grab some of those wonderful delicacies. Those are grab and go.
Yes.
At the back of Indulge, you've got the Luna Bar.
And outside is where you find the Soleil Bar. Under the sun, of course.
But don't even get me started about the outside of Deck 8, because Deck 8 is amazing. Remember how I said the observation lounge was one of our favorite spaces?
Yes.
Deck 8 is another one.
Oh, yes. So we can go on a nice tour of this outdoor space, starting with the infinity pool on the starboard side of the ship. You've got an infinity pool, a bunch of loungers, and you even have these other day beds that are surrounded by water. Such a cool design space. So cool. We also find the run out of the Rush slides before we come to
the concourse. This is where Norwegian Prima has installed a whole bunch of outdoor art, and it is really cool. You are going to take pictures here, I promise you. And there are some abstract pieces. There's also this metal dog that's out there. Some of them are a little loose, and so that's why you see these ropes tying them to the railing. I'm sure Norwegian Prima will solve that, but it's really cool, and there are those little benches that look like caterpillars.
Yeah.
And so it's just a lovely spot before you get to the Ocean Walk. And the Ocean Walk is that it's the glass walkway that goes out over the waterway. It's that moment before you step on, because as the ship is moving, you really feel that water rushing underneath that glass beneath your feet. I'm sure it's mostly safe.
Oh, well, of course it is. Moving forward from there, we enter at La Terrazza, and this is where you're going to find some more seating areas. Now, it's not exactly a sun deck space. You can hang out there, but there's not really loungers to lay out on. And they also outfitted this whole area with binoculars, which is really cool. So you can kind of check out what's on the horizon. Is it something that you should be concerned about?
Now, what's cool as you wrap around that?
Oh, you get to walk at the very front of the ship. You are actually walking the furthest forward that you can go on the bow. It's such a cool space.
It's so cool. Like you're inside look at this. You're inside the bow of the ship. How cool is that?
That's awesome. And as we come to the port side, we're wrapping into the La Terrazza, a basic mirror image of what we just saw on the starboard side.
You've got the Ocean Walk again, and then you run into the outdoor dining spots for Onda by Scarpetta as well as Los Lobos. Look at this outdoor dining space for Los Lobos. It is one of the prettiest I have seen at sea. Love it.
Yes. Now then we find the run out for the drop. And that is also right next to the outdoor dining space for the local, which was
right.
a new space on a Norwegian ship.
Yep.
And then as we come aft of there, we have another infinity pool and some areas to lay out before we make our way to the back of the ship one more time, where we found some wonderful, comfortable couches to lay out on.
My gosh, it is the best sun on the ship. Okay, Norwegian will tell you the Haven has the best sun on the ship. No, deck 8, that exterior promenade is just wonderful. And that wraps up this beautiful deck. So let's jump on down to deck number 7.
Here we find the second level of the Prima Theater and Club. Moving aft from there, on the port side of the ship, we find the shore excursions desk. It's such a cute little desk.
Look how small this is.
And then right in that area, we also find the main Starbucks on board. This is a very large Starbucks with tons of seating, nice lounging chairs where you can enjoy the space of the Penrose Atrium. And then at the aft of this little space on the port side of the ship is where we find the iConnect Internet desk.
As Rocky mentioned, this all wraps around that Penrose Atrium. It's that 3-story gorgeous atrium space. On the starboard side of that, you've got Effie jewelry, so you can pick up your tennis bracelet. You've got luxury watches and other luxury options in that space. There's a ton of space in front of that, though, because that's where guest services desk is located. And there were always people milling about in that space, so you want a lot of open space there. As we head aft from guest services down the long hallway that's going to bring you to the aft of the ship, you find all sorts of premium luxury items. You can purchase your handbags. You can go, if you need a new Rolex, you can pick up your watch at Time Zones.
Cute.
What a cute name. So really all of this is that luxury, all of those luxury purchases that you might want to make.
Speaking of luxury purchases, at the end of this hallway, this is where we find Park West Art Gallery. And if you were the high bidder, you know where you're going to go is into this wonderful little spot to take care of your bid.
Yes.
Now, on the port side of the ship, this is where we find
Sid, Norman's Poorhouse. Now, this is where you're going to see great shows like The Prom. Don't miss out on any of the tributes that are here in this facility. I will say it is a smaller venue on board. The first night they had the nightclub in here. It was hopping. But it was only hopping because of how small this space is. Now, there is a full bar in Sid Norman's. Again, don't miss the shows. The band is fantastic.
Let's jump over to starboard side where the Improv Comedy Club is. I think this space is even smaller.
I agree.
Again, it has a bar inside, the important things, but it was standing room only in both of these venues. So keep that in mind, though they are smaller spaces.
Yes. Now, the Improv is also where karaoke is hosted throughout your cruise.
That's right.
There you go.
As we head aft from those locations, you come to the Humidor Cigar Lounge. Now, for you and for this video, I went inside and I took some video and I got some pictures. And believe it or not, the Prima is such a new ship, it really didn't have a heavy smoke smell. Regardless, though, they have 2 sets of doors. So there's like an air chamber that keeps the smoke inside as you go between the inside and outside. We never smelled smoke outside of the humidor.
Not at all. And also on the starboard side of the ship in this space is where we find the Metropolitan Bar and Lounge. This was a gorgeous, gorgeous venue. We love the Swarovski crystal ceiling up there. The bar drinks were actually really good. This is where you find your Sail and Sustain drinks that Norwegian has partnered with. So you can get your pineapple surplus there if that's your go-to drink. But they had some really cool little tablets that you could order from, and there was always live music in this space.
Always live music. Yep. On the other side of the ship, on port side,
you are not going to believe the design of Le Bistro here on board Norwegian Prima. We are in the middle of the ship on deck 7, and it just starts here with the name of this amazing venue. Come on inside and take a look at these gorgeous chandeliers. This is the perfect setting for your escape on your next Norwegian Prima cruise. Check it out. Now, as we move aft from this space, on the starboard side of the ship is where we find Nama. This is where you'll have sushi and sashimi. It's a cute little space. We never saw it super busy, so there's really no concern about getting in here, but it is also a specialty restaurant with a cover charge.
On port side, you have Hasuki. Now, I just said Le Bistro was the prettiest, but Hasuki is their upcharged teppanyaki grill. Just walk in this space with me. I have never seen a prettier teppanyaki grill in my life. That blue, just the marble work in here, it's unbelievably gorgeous. When you eat at specialty dining on board Norwegian Prima, you're going to feel spoiled. You're going to feel pampered. I promise.
And speaking of beautiful places to dine, this one's not going to cost you extra. Go to Hudson's restaurant. They're at the aft of Deck 7. It is a beautiful space, floor to ceiling windows. It wraps around the entire aft of the ship. Every seat has a view. It was amazing.
We could not get over how beautiful this space is. Look at these chandeliers with the Swarovski crystals in them. They kind of shimmer as the ship moves. In fact, we heard the people at the table next to us say, the restaurant feels alive. It's beautiful.
Well, that is it for Deck 7. Let's drop on down and take a look at Deck 6 next.
We're here at the Prima Club and Prima Theater on board Norwegian Prima, and this space is unbelievable. It transforms from a theater into a nightclub. Check this out. They even have mobile bar carts inside the theater. How fun is that? As well as 2 bars that flank the sides of the theater. It is a great space for shows, and it is a great space for late night dancing. 80s party, anyone?
Now, I will tell you, it's still not enough bar space. And so here's a cruise tip.
You have the Penrose Bar. Now, this doesn't just take care of you if you're going into the theater, but it also services all of the Penrose Atrium as well as the casino.
Yes. And speaking of that atrium, oh my gosh, this is breathtaking. As we wrap around that atrium, you've got stages for live music, live entertainment, trivia. There's always something going on in that atrium. On the starboard side, you've got Swarovski, the Swarovski store where you can buy your, crystal staircase for your home and all of your crystals that you might want. And then you've got the cigar shop and the liquor shop and some of the sundries that you might need. There's just a bunch of stuff there on that starboard side of the ship.
Now, if you're ready to book your next cruise before you leave, this is where you're also going to find the Cruise Next desk. So make sure that you get yourself ready for that next cruise out with Norwegian.
Hey, and good news, if you buy Cruise Next certificates on board, you can actually connect them to your travel agent on land, so you don't have to worry about missing out with your travel agent back home.
That's right. Now, a little secret that I'm going to tell you about is behind Penrose Bar, over on the port side, we find the VIP casino. Now, this is your high limits casino room. You're going to find some great amenities in here, from coffees to teas to pastries and a whole lot of fun.
But only 2 slot machines. So, if you're a slot player, this might not be the space for you. Also, if you're not ready to bet $5,000 on a table game, this also might not be the casino for you. Speaking of that casino, though, it is huge. It is massive. It takes up, unlike some of the other NCL ships, this takes up the entirety of the ship from port side to starboard and goes all the way back. And what's our favorite feature of this casino?
Smoke-free.
Smoke-free, because there is a walled-in casino that is just dedicated to smokers. It is behind an entire glass wall on the starboard side, kind of at the front of the casino. It's just, there are plenty of table games, a slot machine. There is so much space.
Yes. Now, as we move towards the aft of the ship, we're going to find another one of our favorite design spaces, and that is the Belvedere Bar here on Deck 6. It is a gorgeous venue with rich, rich materials. It's a wonderful spot to grab a drink, just hang out with your friends, enjoy a lovely conversation. And while you wait for your reservations to come available at Cagney Steakhouse, or if you're dining in the Commodore Room, you can use this as a great meeting point to get your party together and ready for dining. What a beautiful space this is. Check it out. And on the port side is where we find NCL Fleet favorite, Cagney Steakhouse. This is also another gorgeous design space with tons of beautiful seating and nice designs throughout. And again, it's one of your specialty restaurants for more at sea.
Yes. And then on the opposite side of that is the Commodore Room. It is the other main dining room. It is nice. We actually filmed our first 24 hours on board reaction video there. So you can see that in the background. It is still a nice space. I would recommend going to Hudson's personally, but this is also a nice space, and you can grab a drink from Belvedere Bar as you wait for your table to be ready at the Commodore Room, or even at Cagney's.
Well, that is a great way to wrap up deck number 6.
Can I tell them about one more thing?
Oh, what's that?
Check out the art installation on this wall behind Belvedere. I don't think enough people on the Norwegian Prima will ever see it, and I want you to actually get to see it as well on your cruise.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Now you can wrap up deck
That's a
6.
great tip. So that is the end of deck 6. Let's head on down to deck 5 and take a look around. It's all staterooms. We've got interiors, we've got ocean views, and that's all that we find on deck 5.
Yes. Finally, the last guest-facing deck that's accessible is deck number 4, but all that's there that you have access to is the tender lobby where you get on and off the ship in your ports. It's nice. It's nicely done. It doesn't feel like you're going through like an industrial crew area. They've done some finishing. You definitely know that it's still a crew area though, because there's crew signs, there's guest signs, and so it is nice. There is a little bit of a pinch point as you go through the elevator hallway, but the nice thing is there are 2 hallways that you can go through. So just another cruise tip, when you come back from port, you know you've got multiple ways to navigate through that space. And that's it. So that's the Norwegian Prima from deck 20 all the way on down
to deck 4. We hope that you have enjoyed this tour of the ship. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous designed ship, as you can see from our pictures and videos.
What I'll tell you, though, is the pictures and videos do not do it justice. It's even prettier in person. We didn't even mention the elevator banks. Look at these elevator banks. How beautiful there are so many spaces that are going to take your breath away.
That's right. So if you have any questions, comments, anything that you want to know about the Norwegian Prima, drop it into the comments below. We will answer all of those questions and help you get ready for your Norwegian Prima sailing.
And we're also going to be sailing on her baby sister, the Norwegian Aqua. So if you didn't hit that subscribe button in the beginning, do so now, because there's going to be all sorts of content that's to come, as well as they should check out this playlist too.
Yes.
Right?
Oh.
Look at all of this Norwegian Cruise Line content for you to check out.
Thank you so much for watching our video. We look forward to seeing you out on the ocean.
Bye for now. As you exit the bridge, I guess, well, you're probably not exiting the bridge.